So I'm reading about Hermès and I come across this quote from their CEO in 2010, a guy named Patrick Thomas or Patrick Thomas. Bernard Arnault, the richest man in France, the guy who owns Louis Vuitton, Dior, Fendi, about 75 brands, he's just tried to secretly acquire Hermès through hidden equity swaps. Nobody saw it coming. And when Patrick Thomas finds out, here's what he says. If you want to seduce a beautiful woman, you don't start by raping her from behind. Well, I read that and I thought, that's not a business quote. That's a declaration of war. What kind of company produces a CEO who talks like that? So I went down the rabbit hole. And look, you've probably heard about the Birkin. You've heard about the wait list. You may even know about the orange box. But here's what I think most people miss. The exclusivity is not a marketing tactic. It's a production system, one that Hermès has been building since 1837. And in 2010, they used it to defeat the richest man in France. Even if you follow this brand for years, there's a layer underneath the scarcity that almost nobody talks about. And that's what we're going to uncover. 1837, Paris, a man named Thierry Hermès opens a workshop. He's not making bags. He's not making fashion. He's making harnesses for horses, the leather straps that connect the animal to the carriage. And he figures out this stitch. 2 needles, 2 threads, waxed linen, working against each other in tension. And here's the thing, if one thread breaks, the other holds. The stitch cannot come undone. It is structurally impossible for it to unravel. This wasn't decoration. This was physics. I keep thinking about that. A stitch invented for horses in 1837, and 187 years later, every single Birkin bag is still made with that same stitch. One artisan, one bag, 18 to 24 hours of handwork. They could automate it. They could train machines, but they never will. And then there's the orange box. 1942. Paris is occupied during the war. Hermès runs out of packaging. Their boxes were cream-colored, elegant, designed to look like pigskin. Gone. Can't get the materials. The supplier says, I have orange. Well, nobody wants orange. But then Émile Maurice Hermès, the founder's grandson, takes the orange, adds a brown ribbon, stamps the logo. What started as a wartime shortage became the most recognizable packaging in luxury. That orange is now trademarked. There is no Pantone equivalent. It is Hermès's internal color code 93. Do you see what happened here? The stitch could only be done by hand, so they made the hand the standard. The box could only be orange, so they made orange the icon. They do not overcome constraints. They convert constraints into identity. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. You cannot walk into Hermès and buy a Birkin. The Birkin and Kelly are what they call quota bags. To even be offered the opportunity to purchase one, you need purchase history. The informal rule: spend $10,000 to $20,000 first. Scarves, belts, homeware. Build a relationship with a sales associate. Then wait. Sometimes years. And when they finally call you, you take what they offer. You do not choose the color. You do not choose the size. They choose you. Now you might say, this is just manufactured exclusivity, marketing theater. But here's the difference. Louis Vuitton could make more bags tomorrow if they wanted to. They choose not to. Hermès literally cannot. It takes 3 to 5 years to train an artisan before they're allowed to touch a Birkin. You cannot accelerate that. The scarcity is not a strategy. The scarcity is physics. Louis Vuitton practices artificial scarcity. Hermès has natural scarcity. One is a marketing decision. The other is a constraint built into the speed of the human hand. Perfection does not scale. Which brings us back to Bernard Arnault. 2010, Arnault quietly accumulates 17% of Hermès through hidden equity swaps. When the founding family discovers what he's done, they respond. They form a holding company called H51. They pull their shares. They lock him out. And they tell the richest man in France, sell your stake and leave. He did. Louis Vuitton sold to capital. Hermès told capital to leave. And here's the thing I can't stop thinking about. In April 2025, Hermès briefly surpassed LVMH's market cap, 243 billion euros. The company that refuses to sell became the most valuable luxury house in France. But here's what most people miss. Refusal only works if it costs you something. Hermès doesn't just say no. They encode no into the system, into training time, into the stitch, into the sales floor, into the orange box. Every artisan is 3 to 5 years of sunk cost before they produce a single bag. That's not attitude, that's architecture. Refusal that costs you nothing is just theater. So here's the question for you. Everyone talks about what they're building. Hermès asks a different question. What are you refusing? They refuse to sell quota bags without purchase history. They refuse to sell online. They refuse to meet demand. They refused the richest man in France. Find the one thing in your business that you've optimized for access when you should have optimized for refusal. What breaks if you say no tomorrow? That's your constraint. That's your moat. This is the design arbitrage. My name is Gustavo Reichardt. Thank you for listening.